guys, welcome back to another episode of Strip by Sia. It's now season 2, so welcome back. Old listeners, new listeners, hello. My name is Steph, aka Kimchi, aka your host for today and for all of the episodes. Today we are joined by a fun guest who goes by the name of Jessie Black and is a porn star in Canada. So, Jessie, you're out in Toronto right now, right?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. And the funny thing is, the way that we virtually met, Jessie reached out to me. If I can share this, if that's okay with you.
Oh yeah.
Jessie reached out to me on Twitter and was like, "Hey, are you interested in shooting a scene with me, like a boy-girl scene? I'd be really interested in shooting with you since you're coming to Vancouver in just a couple of weeks, which should be around the time of airing or maybe just a couple of weeks after." And I was super flattered. Thank you.
My pleasure. And thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, no, anytime. It's like really an honor to have you on and for you to share expertise in terms of the porn industry and also your perspective. We don't really have like a lot of male, heteronormative males on the show, so it's really cool to have your perspective on this. So thank you again for your time, and I cannot wait to get into this. So let's get into the whole shebang. So I guess define who you are, what you do, in your own words, in your own terms, and go.
Okay, so as you've said, my name's Jessie Black. I've been doing porn for a couple years now, about probably around 2 years.
Okay.
And I've started off, so I actually started doing pro porn as like my very first shoots.
Really?
I think I have a very unique entrance to the industry.
Okay.
As in, I was following this like behind the scenes Snapchat account for one of the agencies.
Okay.
And they posted on their story. It was this guy and girl getting ready for a shoot. They're both naked, and they weren't currently shooting, but they're kind of just prepping.
Okay.
So I just responded to the story, just like half jokingly, not even sure if they'd open it or see it or whatever. But I was just talking shit. I'm like, oh, I'm bigger than him. I should be in the scene instead. Just like...
So you're telling
just
like shit talking
jokingly, whatever, sending them a message, yeah.
Oh my god. So
to my surprise, he actually saw it and opened it and responded. And so this was the owner of that agency that was running that Snapchat account.
Okay.
And he responded back to me just talking shit back. So he's like, "Oh, you stupid kid, you're probably like half his size, whatever." I can't remember like exactly what he said verbatim.
Okay.
But I was just like, okay, you know what, let's just cut straight to the chase. So I just went to the washroom and I just sent him a picture because I'm like, you know what, I don't give a shit. Let's just...
So you sent him a dick pic.
Or whatever.
Okay.
So I just sent him a nude like right there, and then he kind of got more serious and he's just like talking, and it was through that I ended up kind of getting recruited into the industry.
Are you kidding me? Oh my god. That's amazing. Yeah, that's definitely a story that I would say is not typical at all for an entrance into the industry at all. So, very cool.
Yeah, people always ask me how to get into the industry, and I tell them, do not do what I did. I'm lucky that it worked out how it did, but I would not rely on that as a typical method.
Yeah, or like a reliable entrance into the industry.
Yeah.
Hey, but you know what? I'm glad it worked out, because if you didn't do that, we wouldn't be chatting right now. So, so what happened after that? Can you continue the story?
Yeah, so we were, he sent me a link to, for like an actual application.
Mm-hmm. And
he kind of like, he already knew that I was going to be applying, so it was just like for the formality.
Right.
And we were talking for a little while, maybe, I think it was actually like around like 6 months, maybe around that long.
Oh, wow.
And then he had flown me down. Well, it's difficult because like they like to shoot with like American talent.
Right.
As Canadian, it's harder because it's like, especially as a new person in the industry, they don't know what you're going to be like.
Right.
And if they're not going to be able to shoot with you consistently, then it's like they have less of a incentive to like start shooting with you.
Right. Yeah, and to book you. So that's really interesting.
And I was also working full time at the time, so it was kind of hard to work out.
And you're working at
anyways,
yeah, sorry, keep going.
I was just gonna say, anyways, I was you were talking about for about 6 months, and then he ended up flying me down to Miami,
Oh, fun.
and I was down there for about 2 weeks. I did some scenes with Bang Bros, Reality Kings,
Cool.
Mofos, a couple of the really big studios out there.
Wow, that's awesome. This is your first time? Your first time shooting?
Yeah, that was like my first entry into shooting any type of porn. I'd never done amateur porn before that or anything
Oh
of
my
the sort.
God. Wow. And how was that for you? Were you nervous at all? Like, was it really different than what you
Yeah,
expected?
well, it was kind of it was a bit nerve-wracking. I was a bit nervous going into it just because I had no idea what to expect or anything like that.
Right.
I think it did reflect in those scenes a bit that I kind of didn't really. I was like very, very new to it still,
Yeah.
and I didn't really have very much guidance and stuff. I was kind of like thrown into it. They just kind of
Yeah.
like gave me a script, and they're like, okay, this is what you're doing. It's just like a 2-page like short thing.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me like the gist of it. But it was good. We did about, I think I shot maybe 8 scenes while I was down there for the 2 weeks.
Awesome. Wow. That's really cool.
So, and it was kind of, well, even before doing any porn, I've always been kind of, I guess I'd say deviant.
Okay.
Whereas I've done like, always been very kinky and like into different stuff. So I was kind of going down there with the expectation that I'd like walk into the place and there'd be like girls tied up, suspended from the ceiling and like all sorts of crazy shit.
Well, what was it really like then? What was the reality?
Well, it was a lot more casual than I expected. But it's
Okay.
also kind of it was cool. So like when I was down there, I was staying in this I guess you'd call it like a porn house or whatever,
Okay.
where it's like a bunch of different people in the industry just like sharing a
A
house or
house?
living space.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really cool in the dynamics since to do any professional type porn, it's industry standard that you have to be tested within the 2 weeks prior to the scene.
Great.
At least that's the standard in North America.
Yep.
And so it's cool because like everybody there, like we all knew that everybody else was clean
Yeah.
and that they were just some sort of like porn standard. So it was very casual, and that I would just be in the shower or something, and then I'd get out and I'd just be like, I'd like call over to the next room. I'd be like, hey Victoria, like come suck my dick for a gift or whatever. It was just like it's like very casual, just like kind of helping each other out and making content, and it's very I don't know, it was a very interesting atmosphere to be in for sure.
That's really cool. And was everyone in the house, like, in terms of the atmosphere, was it pretty welcoming? Because you're brand new. Like, were these all veterans that you were sharing the house with? Were there any amateurs there as well? Or was it just you kind of solo by yourself?
So when I was there were I was staying in the house of the owner of the agency, and also there were 2 male porn stars.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one was there the entire time, and then one kind of was coming and going,
Okay.
and then there were 2 or 3 girls that were there as well.
Cool.
So both of the other guys have been in the industry for a while,
Okay.
and then the other girls. So one of them, my first scene actually was with another girl who was doing her first scene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then one of the other girls, she was also, I think, in her first couple months. I think she
Yeah.
was maybe like 3 months in or something. I'm not sure exactly.
So pretty new.
And then, yeah, I think all the girls were relatively new.
Okay. So at least that to you must have been a little bit comforting too. Like you're not just on your own. You're not just completely thrown into the fire.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because since you didn't have a mentor and you didn't really know what to expect, it's your first time doing it, were there any things that you had to prep or any advice that the veteran guys, like any advice that they would give you in order to kind of prep for your scene and whatnot? Or how does that kind of work?
So they were kind of telling me some things.
Mm-hmm.
There was one thing actually that I regret even listening to, because the person who was like the owner of the agency
Yeah.
was like telling me all this stuff. He's kind of like hyping me up, and he was telling me he was trying to get me to take pills and take like whatever, like Viagra or whatever it was
Yeah.
before the shoot.
Okay.
And he's just like, he's like 97% of the industry takes it, he's like everybody does it. He's like, don't worry about it. He's like, I got the best stuff in the industry. He's like, we'll make you like a sex god. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. And at this point in time, he'd never even seen me have like regular, just natural sex.
Oh, really?
Which in hindsight, strikes me as really odd. And the fact that he like flew me down for all these scenes based off of just like a couple of nude pictures and no experience.
Totally. Like that could be in reverse, like a red flag.
Yeah. So in hindsight, I didn't really think of it at the time, but in hindsight, I was like, oh, that's kind of bizarre even. But,
yeah, that's kind of sketchy, but okay.
But, yeah. But then, anyways, he ended up convincing me to try it out. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And I didn't realize that, like, he was talking about how he has like the best pills in the industry, and the way that he was like dosing people was he was dosing people based off of like guys being in the industry for years and years already that have already like built up immunities to this stuff.
Oh my god!
So he gave me like a stupidly large dose of these pills. It was like,
oh my god!
I found out afterwards. I think it was like a 5 times dose of Viagra or something, and then like a 10 times dose of some other pill.
Oh my god!
It was like ridiculous.
Oh my god!
So
that is crazy / potentially dangerous, but okay.
Yeah. Oh my god! It kind of scared me a bit. But yeah. So for my first scene, I literally couldn't even come at all. It was so bizarre because it's just like I found out an overdose of Viagra. It kind of has like a bit contrary effects to typical. Well, I don't know. Like I was still able to get hard and stay hard for this scene.
Yeah.
But it kind of made it harder as opposed to easier as Viagra is supposed to, and it like inhibits you from having an orgasm. It was really weird.
What? Oh my gosh. I had no idea.
Yeah, so for like the first scene, I think it had to be scrapped because it's like I couldn't even, like I felt where I was at the point of no return. I pushed like if you say the point of no return is like 100%, I got to like 150% where it's like, okay, I should be coming by now.
Yeah.
And then I like slowed down and like dropped back under, and that happened again like 3 times.
Oh my god.
And then I just told them, I'm like, yeah, there's not going to be a money shot. I'm like, this isn't happening.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And then it was actually like, it got to the point where I was about to go see a doctor because for the first day I couldn't orgasm.
Yeah.
And then after that I was able to, but it was like firing blanks. Like I wouldn't be actually like coming for anything. So it's like,
really?
It took about three weeks for it to go back to normal.
Whoa.
So it was at the point where I was like about to go see a doctor being like, oh shit, this guy fucked me up.
Yeah.
And then it went back to normal and I was like, okay, thank God.
Oh my god. So advice, so don't take any of those pills. Don't listen to them.
Just do what you're used to and just like don't let people peer pressure you as everybody has said in your past, I'm sure.
Right. Oh my gosh. No, I've definitely heard of that before. Do you know what was in those pills? Was it the same? Was it basically Viagra, but just like a really, 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 really strong dose?
I'm still not actually sure if it was like brand name Viagra, or if it was like some other kind of like knockoff brand or whatever it was. I just know that like the equivalent was like a way stronger dose of equivalency.
Oh my god, like super potent. Jesus.
Yeah.
Were you hard for hours then? Because I know usually with Viagra, you're hard for a few hours.
I wasn't even, like, again, just because it was like such a weird dose, like it didn't really have that typical effect. I don't know, I've never really done like Viagra normally, so it was just like I didn't really get that effect that I was expecting, and it kind of just fucked with me more than anything.
Yeah, I feel like it just totally inhibited everything else, and it was like the opposite effect of what was supposed to happen. That's so weird.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And I felt bad because like I was down there doing all these shoots for like big name companies, and it was kind of like my first porn trip, and then I'm like, oh shit, I'm like, it's all fucked up now.
Oh no.
But it was
oh geez. Well, you know what, that's really cool, and that's such a cool story. I don't think I've ever heard anyone's first time and first like entry into the industry as unique as yours, so thank you for sharing.
You're very welcome. Yeah, it's a story I always enjoy telling just because it's so ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and it just seems like a huge gamble or like / a scam even. Like, yeah, we'll fly you down here and blah, 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 and then just turned to work out for you. So, yay, congratulations. So, okay, but back up. Let's back it up a little bit, because you mentioned that you were working full-time, like I would assume like a civilian job when you were entertaining this idea. Can you tell us, like, how you got out of that, how you transitioned, what were you doing before? Like, Who was Jesse Black before porn?
So I actually went to school to be an aerospace mechanic.
What?
So yeah.
Shit, really?
So
That's insane.
So I was fixing like passenger planes and like private jets and stuff like that.
Very cool. Very cool first career. Okay, so how did you manage to get out of that? How did you transition? Or are you still kind of working and doing that, but part-time or?
Yeah, it's been like I feel like my porn career hasn't progressed as far as it would have otherwise because I've been trying to balance both of them.
Okay.
Because of COVID and all that stuff, I haven't been working in my like civilian job for some months now.
Right.
But before, like I was trying to balance both in that like my first trip when I went there for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I had actually told my employer, because I knew that they weren't legally allowed to pry in if I wasn't asking for like reimbursement. I told them that I was getting a surgery done and that my doctor said I needed 2 weeks for recovery. And then I flew down to Florida.
Oh my God. Did your employer ask like what kind of surgery? Like what? Well, I guess you can't really ask that type of question.
No, I found out like according to like labor laws and all that stuff, like they're not allowed to
legally ask you.
It's different. Yeah, it's different if you're asking to like be paid for that time, but I was just asking for like time off without pay. And apparently if you're just requesting time off without pay, like they're legally not allowed to ask any further into it.
Really? Okay. Pro tip, guys. Pro tip. That's crazy. Wow. So then you got flown down to Florida and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then past that, there was like another time I went to Vegas just for like, it was like 3 days that I went there for. So I called in sick on the Friday and then I was gone and I was back in town on the Monday. And nobody even knew that I ever left.
I love this. Okay, so you're basically still like moonlighting as a porn star and still working your full-time job, civilian job, for the first year or two. Or you and still now sort of, but you're, I guess because COVID happened, not so much.
Right. Like now at the moment, I'm just focusing more on porn because I don't know how long it's going to be until the industry picks back up again.
Right. That's so true. Was it tricky
Yeah.
finding that balance though, with balancing your civilian job and also doing porn, especially with, it sounds like you're going to the States a lot to shoot for production?
Yeah, well, I've only actually been a couple times. Maybe it was only twice actually, because I went initially for that Miami trip, then I went to Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, I've been doing a bit more stuff, like locally. I've been trying to
good.
do stuff on the Canadian side of the border.
Yeah.
I've gone to Montreal once for like maybe, I don't know if it was for a week or 2 weeks, for a porn trip there.
Yeah, there's lots of porn companies that are down there in Montreal.
Yeah, I'd say like Montreal and Vancouver are probably like the two best places in Canada for it.
Totally.
But so in Toronto, it's been kind of tough. I've kind of been working towards getting a stable setup here, whereas I don't have to fly down or like fly around anywhere to do work.
Right.
So I found like a couple girls here that are willing to shoot together. I've got like a couple of venues that will let me shoot there.
Mm-hmm.
A few people that are down to film for me. So I'm kind of been working together to put together a whole like studio of sorts.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, it's been pretty good. I haven't actually fully started with that yet, just because as I was just finalizing stuff, that's when COVID really hit. So that kind of put a wrench in stuff as well.
Right. And that navigating through that has been really tricky. Like, how has COVID affected you and also the porn industry? What does that mean?
Right. So if I was just out of a job regularly right now and it wasn't because of COVID, I could be flying down to the States and doing more work down there. But crossing that border is kind of off the table now.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I'm going out to Vancouver actually in about a week and a half from now.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to be there for the next little while.
Nice. How long are you going to be in town for?
Yeah. I don't actually have any specific departure date. I just have a one-way ticket.
Cool.
So, yeah, so I'm going to be there for at least a month. I know that much.
Nice.
I'm actually coming in with a couple of friends. One of my friends is picking up this, like, camper van out there.
Fun.
And then we're going to be just like kind of like exploring the rest of Canada as we road trip along the way back. And I also have I have a couple people in each province all along the way back to shoot with as well.
Perfect. So you've really just like lined it all up.
Yeah, I've been trying to find people kind of like along the route in Canada to be able to shoot with.
How is finding potential partners? How has that been for you? Is that pretty hard to find potential partners, and especially with the added layer of COVID on there as well? Must be kind of tricky.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of tricky here.
Mm-hmm.
It would be easier if I was living down in the States somewhere. Like, the three big cities down in the States are LA, Miami, and Vegas.
Vegas, yeah.
And if I was living in any of those cities, it would be relatively easy. There's always people that are like active on Twitter, like posting from those places, and it's just like those cities are really flooded with porn stars.
Yeah, definitely.
And whereas Toronto, there is a lot of sex work in Toronto, but it's not really the same type as what I do. Like, there are a lot of girls who are cam girls here.
Yeah.
Which it's like a lot of the time they wouldn't be the type to like do any work with me. There's a lot of like there's escort agencies here and stuff like that, but that's like a totally different facet of sex work as well.
Yes.
So like, while there are a lot of people here, it's not the best place for like the type of porn that I do in particular.
Right. And can you share a bit more about what type of porn that you specialize in, or what kind of porn that you produce?
So what I make is just like general like boy-girl videos, or I do like solo videos as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff that I do that's solo is like at fan request. I'll take like a custom request. Most often on like Twitter, people will message me, and then I'll just like make custom videos for them.
Nice. Always fun.
I'll do like some live Skype sessions as well. I do that with people.
Yeah.
But then in general, it's kind of like boy-girl scenes is my ideal.
Yeah.
I do like having them along the lines of like more like rough sex or like BDSM involvement to them.
Right. And plus you already like that in your own personal sex life too, so that would kind of make sense.
Yeah, exactly. So like a lot of the initial videos that I did were kind of more vanilla.
Yeah.
And which wasn't really my style, so I feel like it's like going forward and stuff, I'm just trying to do it in the same style that I have my regular sex in.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, this episode will be airing when you will be in Vancouver, so if there's any potential partners that want to shoot with you, I'll definitely have to swing them your way, and at the end of the episode, we'll be able to market you as well, so stay tuned for that. All the links should be in the show notes as well, so yeah, I should be able to connect you with some people too, so...
Awesome, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, no problem. And going back in terms of like the porn industry in Toronto, you mentioned it's pretty quiet, I guess. Well, not quiet. That's not the word I'm looking for. But in comparison to other sex work industries in Toronto, there's not much for it. Why do you think that is? Is it maybe just a lack of openness, or maybe more of a safety thing because of COVID? Because Toronto, the numbers are a lot worse than Vancouver.
Right. Yeah, well, it's not even just like during COVID times that's been the case. Like, this is kind of been, like, it's not just for the past couple months that porn hasn't been as much of an industry there as other sex work.
Yeah, it's just always like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly, to be honest. Like, I know Montreal has a lot of sex work because some of the companies there have some big porn companies have headquarters out in Montreal.
Right.
Whereas I don't know of any that are headquartered in Toronto.
No, I don't know any of those ones either.
Yeah, so I don't know, like, a lot of the people here that do sex work, it kind of doesn't really involve like other people. Like, they'll generally have like an OnlyFans, or they'll do like camming or stuff like that, which is a lot of the stuff is like, you don't really have to leave your bedroom, you don't really have to interact with other people.
Yeah.
A lot of the people who do boy-girl stuff, they'll be people that are like in relationships, and they'll be doing it with their partner.
Yeah. Do you find that this is, in terms of your observation, that this is something that is relatively new, especially with the whole OnlyFans things? I know camming has been around forever, but is this maybe a trend where porn is going? And also due to the pandemic too, that everything will be moved kind of online with like certain duo shows, or like maybe there's only certain people that you work with and stuff like that? Do you think porn's kind of moving in that way? It's kind of hard to
Honestly, I'm
say.
not really sure. Like, there are definitely a lot of people going on to OnlyFans. It's like blown up an insane amount recently.
Yeah,
But there's
definitely.
always going to be a market for like the typical like boy girl content, which isn't as prevalent on OnlyFans. Like a lot of the time, OnlyFans is more so if you're just like looking to for premium content on a specific person, but it's less so just like general
Yeah.
stuff like Pornhub content and OnlyFans content is like different types of stuff.
Yeah, completely different for
Mhm.
sure.
Mhm.
How did you
And it's
end
like
up?
I do see.
Mhm.
I was gonna say like I do see the standard porn industry like changing to accommodate for COVID.
Yeah.
Like there are, so I was going to be doing some pro scenes out in BC, which ended
Oh,
up actually getting canceled because the numbers there have been increasing a bit recently. So
yeah, which sucks.
unfortunately, it did get canceled. But one of the prerequisites for that was going to be, in addition to the standard like full STI test within the 2 weeks prior, there was also going to be COVID tests that were required. And I
Oh,
know a lot
wow.
of people are having COVID tests like the day before
Oh,
their scenes, or like they're being even more diligent and stringent with the COVID testing than they are with the STI testing right now.
really? Crazy. It's so weird how this whole
So
pandemic has just like shifted everything a bit. So, but I'm
yeah,
glad.
absolutely.
Yeah, but I'm glad you are able to find partners again across Canada. Also, when you're going to be shooting here in Vancouver, it's super exciting.
Yeah, I am very excited for the trip.
Yeah. But I want to kind of move over to Q&A because there is a lot of questions here, like a lot, and they're not just like simple questions. There's like pretty intricate questions here. So we're going to move over to that. So if that's cool with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. And yeah, it's a lot of in-depth questions. So feel free to answer as you feel.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So we'll go into question number one. What is the worst part about being a porn star?
Oh, that's an amazing question.
Yeah, if there's any worst
Um,
parts about that.
Definitely, yes. There's like because a lot of people just automatically perceive it as the dream job without like seeing any cons or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like it affects your personal sex life a lot. I say that that's a big impact that it has.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of a lot of people won't even have sex with civilians, like if they're in porn industry, just because it's like there's although most people wouldn't expect it, there's kind of like a higher risk of catching something from just like a regular person than there is from a fellow porn star, because like
Right.
normal people don't get tested every 2 weeks like people in the industry do.
Yeah, totally.
And if they do catch something from a random person, then they can't work for who knows how long. So
Yeah.
a lot of them are like a lot more won't have sex as willingly with people that are out of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And then even like me personally, like as a guy, like I'm not gonna have sex like the night before a scene or something like that.
Yeah.
Just because it's like I'd want my load size to be bigger for the scene or like
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. So it's like I'll abstain from sex and like porn and whatever. Where it's like if you're doing scenes like every day or two,
Mm-hmm.
which you'd be like very fortunate to be able to do, then it's like you pretty much wouldn't be having any sex outside the industry,
Really?
and
Yeah.
like or at least like a very small amount in proportion.
Yeah, I didn't even really
And
think about that.
yeah, and porn sex, it's not the same as like regular sex.
No.
It's not the same intimacy. It's not the same stuff. And it's like I've had sex at sex clubs before. I've
Mm-hmm.
had a bit of an exhibitionist streak and all that stuff.
Yeah, in Toronto,
But
there's a
having
lot
sex
there
with,
too.
yeah. But in terms of like shooting porn, it's different also because it's like you're in a room with a bunch of people around you. They have lights on you. And I remember my first scene, it was a POV scene.
Okay.
And you can't hold the camera yourself because it'll be too shaky.
Yeah.
So somebody else holds the camera. But then also generally you can't have both hands in the shot because it's supposed to look like you're holding the camera.
Right.
So someone's like
Oh.
hugging you from behind with the camera over your shoulder while you have like one hand behind your back and you're like trying to fuck this girl with like, well, this guy's hugging you from behind and you're trying to do all the position changes with just one hand. And it's kind of
That's tricky.
like there's a lot that you don't see like off camera that's going on.
No, I
And
never
then it
thought about
also,
that.
yeah. And it also like interferes with personal relationships a lot. Like if you're looking to date somebody or get into a romantic relationship, like it can be quite a blockade. It has to be somebody that's okay with that and comfortable with that, which is a pretty big ask.
Yeah, that's really, really tricky. We've had some guests on the show too in terms of there's been so many different kinds of sex workers on the show. And navigating through relationships can be really tricky just because there's so much judgment out there, so much stigma and shame. And you really need to find like a partner that can really understand, accept what you do and not pretend that they're okay with it and stuff like that and kind of hide that. So it can be really tricky. And I guess, especially with porn too, because you're in such an intimate act, it's hard for some people to kind of accept that it's a job.
Right, exactly. Because it would be one thing if it was like you're just doing solo camming or something like that, where you have the stigma from it still. But this is kind of like the stigma plus the partner would have to be okay with you having sex with other people, which is something that like a lot of people would get jealous over or wouldn't be okay with.
Yeah, it's a lot of trust issues there for sure. That's a whole nother topic.
And it's rough because it's like you don't want somebody to like you don't want your partner to come home and say that they had like a horrible day at work. But you also don't want them to come home after shooting porn and be like, "Oh, I had the best day ever." Like, oh, like, like what kind of picture is that going to paint for them?
No. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. I did not think about all of those different aspects, even in terms of like the different camera angles and the whole production behind it. I did not even think about that side at all. So technical.
Yeah, it's definitely like a lot of people don't really, I don't know, they see the finished product, but it's like you don't really think of what's behind the camera.
Totally, and there's so much work that goes behind the camera too, so. Okay, so why don't we go into the second question out of like 100? There's not 100. There are 100 questions, but there's like quite a bit. So, what's the porn scene / storyline you really want to be or be a part of? Sorry, let me say that again. Can't talk today. What's the porn scene / storyline you really want to make or be a part of?
Oh, fuck.
There's so many.
That's a good question.
It's a really good question.
I haven't really thought about that.
I mean, we could always come back to that. But yeah, no, we had so many great questions come in. I was like really impressed with the audience. I'm like, thanks, guys. Like, I guess I really need to interview more porn stars.
Yeah.
It's been a while. We haven't interviewed a porn star since like season 1. So it's been ages.
Oh, okay, yeah. How many episodes do you have in total now?
This, this episode I think would be episode 50 or 51, including bonus episodes. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there's been a lot. And like I really try to be as diverse as I can be as well. So the only porn star we had in the show was a trans porn star. And that was really interesting. Demi Mundane. And then now we're having you. So I feel like now I should have someone that's probably a female porn star come on the show at some point. Oh, actually, I have had a female porn star on the show, Samantha Mack. So, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, covering all the bases here, but yeah, there's lots of episodes, but there's always so much curiosity about the industry, so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, it's such a commonly consumed form of media, and like for how often people watch it, like, there's not a lot of talk for like what goes on in making it, or like from the people that are actually involved.
Totally. So this is why you're in the show today. But yeah. Can you think of something like in terms of like your ideal storyline?
Probably like I can't think of a full plot line, any sort of like pull boy pizza delivery thing right now.
Yeah, no.
But something that I like in general is kind of like consensual non-consent is something that I kind of like working with, where it's like very rough or like kind of like brutal stuff, or even just like a scene where like someone's like sleeping in a bed and you like kind of go up, which I've like done with like previous girlfriends and stuff. Always make sure that you have consent before that. If you do have like if you talk to a partner about it and they're like willing to do it, I think it's amazing. But it's definitely one of those things that you need to have a conversation about first.
Absolutely, 100%. 100%. Actually, since we're on that topic, because I'm curious about this too, I guess like the whole rape fantasy thing, that that is a thing, obviously. Is
Oh,
that
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
Huge.
like it's really popular too. Like why do you think that is? That's my own question now.
Um,
Just the whole power dynamic maybe?
yeah, it could just be relating back to the whole like primal aspect of it and kind of like rougher like animalistic sex, whereas it's just maybe like a lot of people aren't really exposed to that, or a lot of people are more used to vanilla sex, so it's kind of like the opposite of what they're
Hmm.
generally exposed to. And
Totally.
also just the whole power dynamic of like how like animalistic and raw or like primal or however you want to refer to it is.
And it's a whole like just giving up control because I love that, and it's so hard to find partners that can execute that well.
Hmm.
You know, it's either like there's too much force or too much power, or sometimes there's just like not enough, and you feel like you're coaching them. You're like, oh god, turned off now.
Yeah, I hear a lot of stories from girls that are like, "Oh, spank me," and then the guy does like three like taps on their ass, and that's it, or something
Yeah.
like that.
So I'm like, can you
And then
choke
they're like,
me? And then they don't know how to choke
"Yeah,
properly, and then it's just like, oh god.
yeah." And yeah, and then the flip side is like people who don't respect boundaries and like don't really know how to
Mm.
read the body language or like don't really know how far to take it.
Yeah, and
So you
that's
got to be
like,
that like the happy medium.
yeah, that's so hard to find. Okay, sorry for the sidebar there, but I had to ask.
All good.
So, going back into the whole thing with your personal life, how does porn affect your personal life? I know you briefly
So it
mentioned a
has,
couple points, but like, what about yourself and your own experience?
yeah. So it has affected the relationships that I had earlier on. I was in a relationship when I like first started doing porn. That was kind of like it was kind of a barrier to that, and
Okay.
it wasn't. I hadn't really like gone. I don't know. It was like there wasn't as much like comfortability there as there like should have been and stuff like that,
Okay.
and it kind of made pursuing the career difficult. But then
Okay.
after that, like the people that I've been with have just been like more accepting people. Or it's kind of like something that I'm very upfront with.
Yeah.
Like
Good.
I'm very lucky now that I'm dating this girl that's like very like she's great. She's like very open to it and very accepting, and like doesn't have
Awesome.
any issues with it. Like as long as I'm just with other girls for work, she's like, yeah, that's fine. Like I totally understand. So
Totally.
she's great. I'm really fortunate to have somebody that's open and that has that viewpoint because I think that that's really hard to find.
That is very hard to find. So I'm so happy for you. It's so tricky navigating through relationships again in the sex industry in general. So that's super cool that you found
Hmm.
someone like that's a good fit for you.
Yeah, it's great, and that's the type of thing that it's like I'd always um, like for online dating or anything, I'd have it like on my in my bio or like I would disclose it on the first date because that's like the type of thing that's a big like make it or break it factor in a relationship.
Right, yeah, it could be a deal breaker for sure.
Hmm.
Has your desire for sex been affected from making porn?
Honestly, I don't really feel like it has,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's like it's not the same type of sex and it's not the same way. Like if anything, it's made me crave like regular sex more, just because it's like from the lack of intimacy or like the way that porn is shot. It's like, oh, okay, like it shows me the added value in having sex with someone that like you're actually in love with, that you actually like have feelings for.
Yeah,
It kind of makes me appreciate that that much more.
totally. Because yeah, as you said, like, well, porn is a job, and also it's very I don't want to say mechanical, but lacking connection maybe is a term, you know?
Right.
Yeah. But it's also important for you to kind of disconnect the two, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, because a lot of the time with porn, it's like you're meeting somebody and it's like you're having sex with them on camera like the same day that you meet them, or like somebody that you're not really um, like very familiar with.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That can be kind of tricky for sure. So you just have to like get in there and go. Pretty much. And
Yeah,
literally.
absolutely.
Literally. What are some things that should change in the porn industry?
Oh,
That's a big
hmm.
topic and a big question.
It is, yeah. Hmm. I don't know. Like, I feel like a lot of See, I don't know how it would be changed. So that's the thing. Like, I don't know what I would implement to change it exactly.
Yeah.
But there's like, I feel like there are a lot of girls that are kind of either pressured into it or that this kind of fantasy around it without knowing exactly what they're getting into.
Right.
Or like people that are like very young. Like a lot of people join the industry when they're 18 and they're not really like 18-year-olds do know like a fair amount, but like they don't know. And like it can be hard still to see how it would impact your future or like how it would impact you like emotionally and like all this.
Yeah.
Like the full extent of the effect of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Like just how invasive of a career it is.
Totally. Like I wouldn't really recommend anyone getting into any sex work like under the age of like 21 or 22 even. Basically under the age of 25. In my opinion, because you just haven't had enough life experience. You don't really know what you're doing, you don't know who you are, you don't know what you're valued at, you don't know anything about yourself in most cases,
yeah.
right? So I feel like there can be so many potentially long-term effects that can really just stick with you, as you said, and the whole industry is in general the sex work, not just porn, but it can be very glamorized.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, so it's tricky for sure.
Yeah, so I'm very big on like not. It's hard because on one hand it's like, oh, I'm in Toronto. There's not very many people to shoot with out here. I feel like at least not that many connections that I have at the moment. So it's like on one hand it's like, oh, okay, I want to get new people to shoot with, but on the other hand it's like I'm not gonna like somebody who's not in the industry. Like I'm never gonna pressure them to join the industry or anything like that. It's like I'll only kind of look for people that are already entered it and have already made that decision on their own because it's like I don't want to be a part of anybody really making that big life decision.
No, definitely, and you shouldn't be making that decision for anyone anyone regardless. So we're just gonna keep scrolling down here. What are some things that industries, I guess in this case civilian industries, should learn from porn, if there's anything that you think?
Oh, that's
an interesting question. Yeah. I'm telling you, these questions are really, really, really deep.
Oh, fuck, that's hard. Oh, I don't know.
I know, that's a really good question. I think Mika sent this in, so thank you, Mika, for listening and sending this in. It's okay, we can skip it. It's a hard one. These are really hard questions in general.
Yeah, okay, let's go to the next one.
Okay. You kind of went over this a little bit, but if you want to go in more detail, you can. What is the hardest part about shooting POV?
Yeah, kind of just like needing somebody else to be there for it. Like, because I've shot a couple of videos of me holding it myself, but it's not the same. It's like way too shaky, and you kind of with other stuff you can kind of like set up the camera at stationary angles.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with POV, I feel like it's much more limited.
Okay.
I've shot a couple custom POV videos for people, whereas it's like I'm filming it in the way where it's like they're like giving me head or something, and the camera is like from their POV, which is easier to do than me having sex with somebody and filming it from my POV.
Yeah, that's really tricky.
Yeah, that one, it's kind of one that I haven't really. I'm not really able to do that on my own so much without having somebody there to
film,
to help. Because like even with a gimbal or like a stabilizer or something, it's still not like as steady as you'd want it.
Right. It's more authentic that way.
Yeah.
That's one way you can market it.
Yeah, true.
Okay, I think you already kind of went over this, but again, if you want to add any notes to that, you can. Has porn affected your personal relationships in past and present?
Yeah, I feel like I don't really have that much more to add beyond what I've already said.
Yeah, you're pretty in depth, so we'll skip that guy. How do people in your personal life respond when they find out you do porn?
Oh. Honestly, a lot of them aren't surprised.
Well, yeah, I mean, judging by the personality that you've sold to me, I wouldn't say that would come as a surprise, especially being an exhibitionist and all that, and having those kind of characteristics. Seems like a natural foray into the industry would have been expected.
Yeah. And like a lot of the friends that I've had for a long time kind of know about me being like, I don't know, I don't want to sound like overly cocky or whatever, but like a lot of people kind of like know me as like the most endowed guy of the group or like whatever it is. And I've kind of had this like reputation for like years and years now of like everybody knowing about the size of my dick.
I love that you have that reputation in your group, in your friend circle.
Yeah, so it's like a lot of people are really surprised. Like I'll literally go to parties or stuff. Like if I go to a house party with like some friends that I've had for like a couple of years,
yeah,
they'll just introduce me as like the porn star or like the guy with a huge dick. And it's just like, okay, sure, I can't really ask for a better introduction than that, I guess.
No, and that's a pretty good title to have, I'm not gonna lie. So
yeah.
Does your
even at work actually it's funny because the hangar that I was first working at, like my first airport job since I've been doing porn, there are a couple of people there that like kind of, I don't even know what description I'd say, like knew that I had like kind of a secret job or like was getting other income or like whatever it was.
Oh, really?
And there it's like, there's a lot of times where you'd be wearing like a harness to do work like up on top of a plane or like in some sort of spot where you can't stand.
Okay.
So wearing the harness is like pretty tight and tends to show like quite a lot. So I've had like people that literally have just guessed it on the first guess because they're like, oh, you say you have a secret job? I've seen you in the harness. It's definitely porn.
I love they're like so spot on with that.
Yeah, it shocks me. Like that's it.
That's brilliant.
It's impressive.
Yeah, very impressive.
Yeah.
They get a prize. What about your family? Does your family, are they aware of what you do at all?
So they are actually.
Oh.
At least my direct family is. I think that nobody in my extended family knows. I hope that none of them know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They're pretty accepting.
Yeah.
They kind of know me as having been like, I don't know. I haven't always been the most like by the book character, or I've had like some I don't know, possible like questionable behavior, as they put it, maybe. So I don't know. My mom is kind of just like, you know what? It's not the worst thing you've done, or like, yeah, right. Whatever. Like I don't know. It was very laissez-faire response because I kind of explained the whole like standardized testing every 2 weeks and all that stuff, and that was kind of the main concern, being like, oh, like as long as you're safe, then like it's fine.
Yeah, I mean it's so great that you have really accepting parents that are just really chill about that too. So that's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful for that because I know a lot of people get I don't know, like exiled from their families.
Yeah, like
in response to them doing sex work.
Totally. So that's really admirable for family. Cool. Are the people in your life, okay, I guess that goes with it. Are the people in your life supportive of your career? And you probably would say yes.
Yeah, they're pretty supportive. Either supportive or neutral.
Yeah.
The only one actually that's like less than supportive is my dad. He's actually like kind of the least accepting of it.
Oh, really?
Surprisingly, I'm like, fuck, if I had a son and he told me he was doing porn, I'd be like, fuck yeah, who have you fucked?
Yeah, right? Who have you fucked and how many have you fucked?
Yeah.
How do you know that
he's more... Pardon?
Oh, sorry. Like, how do you know that he's just like not really a fan or like not as accepting?
Like just that look that he gave me, like right when I told him, it was kind of the like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed, like that cliche. Yeah,
that's the worst. I hate.
He's much more traditional and kind of like set in his ways.
Yeah, that's okay.
So I can't really blame him, but whatever. He doesn't really like he could have responded worse still. So like I'm still grateful that he is as accepting as he is.
Exactly. Like, it could have gone the other way, so whatever. That's okay. He's your dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Outside of porn, what's your type?
Oh.
And there was a winky face emoji with that one, too.
I'd say I like petite girls for sure. Mm-hmm. I like alternative girls, like girls that have like piercings and tattoos or whatever.
Okay.
Definitely kinky girls. That's is top of the list.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty open though. I'm not that. I don't know. I'm not that like set in stone with any certain type. I kind of have like a pretty broad history with different girls.
Yeah, and pretty open-minded too, sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Darn, I feel like if I didn't decline, I feel like we could have had a lot of fun.
Then well, too late now.
I am sorry. Have you noticed the misogyny within the porn industry? So I guess we're shifting gears now.
Oh, I would say so. Yeah, maybe not so much in like. Uh, it's really it's hard to say. Well, okay, definitely in an aspect where it's like women maybe feel like pressure to do certain things to get bookings. Like I know female porn stars that would like sleep with the agent, whereas they wouldn't otherwise, just to kind of
Oh, really?
be like in his good books and like get more bookings.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, so I think that's probably like I think that can be counted as a form of misogyny.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And then there's like a lot of stuff in like certain porn scripts that people will argue as misogyny, but I think that's kind of more of a specific like case by case thing. I don't think I can really make a general broad sweeping statement on that.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think there's like
definitely like high potential for it though, and like even just girls getting kind of like manipulated or fed like fantasies when they're younger to kind of try and sway them into it.
Yeah, totally. Which wouldn't happen for male performers or potential male performers. Like, I feel like there's a bit of a double standard within porn.
Yeah, like if it did happen, it definitely wouldn't be to the same extent.
No, definitely not. What is your take on how female porn stars are treated versus male stars in the civilian world?
Oh, there's a huge double standard there, I think.
Yeah. Want to go into it? It's a big one there.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think there's like way more stigma in general for like female sex workers than there is for males.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of plays off of just like about sex in general, even if you're looking like outside of sex work, just as the whole general perception of a guy that has sex with a lot of people being a stud, whereas a girl that has sex with a lot of people being like a slut or a whore.
Yeah.
Whereas like one is praised and the other is like looked down upon. It's like a huge double standard.
Huge double standard for that, which unfortunately still happens today.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What are your hard no's with filming?
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm pretty easy, you know, like I don't really like as long as it's not like piss or shit related, then I'm like, okay, I'm down for whatever.
Yeah.
That's kind of
most people are like that. Yeah. But there is a market for that, so no shame if you do that at all. Make that money.
Yeah, there definitely is, and I'm not trying to kink shame anybody. Everybody has their own stuff. I'm sure there's stuff that I'm into that other people aren't into, but that's not really what my brand is, or like what the type of thing that I'd be into. So, yeah. Although I know there are a lot of girls who do make like piss related content. Right. As far as like shit related stuff, I think that's more of like a taboo, more like in its own little corner of sex work.
Yeah. There's something for everyone. We don't discriminate.
Yeah.
This came from a male. So, do you need abs or a flat stomach to be in porn as a male performer?
My response to that is if Ron Jeremy can do it, you can do it.
Good point.
Yeah, I don't think that you really do. I mean, like the main thing, like the focus is on the girls most of the time. Right. There are exceptions to that, of course, but like a lot of the time the guy is kind of just a stunt dick. And,
I like that stunt dick.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like as long as you have a decent dick and you can like stay hard or get hard again quick, then that's kind of like all you need. You don't really need to be like any pro bodybuilder or anything like that. Mm-hmm. There is like a market for that and stuff, and like there are videos that cater more to that, but it's not like a make it or break it in the industry.
Yeah, it's not like a prerequisite or like a requirement or anything like that. Is there any like physical requirements at all, or it's mostly just centered around the cock?
I'd say it's very cock centric.
Yes.
And even then, like, I think a lot of people's perception is that you need to be like 10 inches or something to be in porn, where it's like a lot of the guys aren't as big as you'd think they are. Like, it's either camera angles or like just the way that it works. Like, because I went there and I was expecting to be like one of the smaller guys there or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas like I went and like everybody there had a smaller dick than me. I was like,
wow.
Holy shit. Like, yeah, it kind of surprised me.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of people think that it's like, oh, like porn dicks are like 10 inches. Like, no, like a lot of them are like 6 inches, like 7 inches. I think the average length of a porn star's dick is 7 inches. I think that's like the defined average. So there's definitely ones like on the shorter end of the spectrum, and then there's ones that are on like the massive end of the spectrum.
The massive, yeah.
But it's like a lot of the time, like if you're a shorter guy or you're like have a smaller frame, then it's like a 6-inch dick on you would look as big as like a 10-inch dick on like a bigger guy or something. Like, it's a lot of comparison to like just the relative size of the rest of your bodies, for one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't need to be huge in the first place, but then that also helps. Like, if you're shooting with like an extra tiny girl, then it'll look bigger.
Totally.
And if you're already like a relatively small person, it'll look bigger. So like, I don't know, a lot of the time I think people overthink like just how big you have to be to get into the industry.
Right. So many dynamics, and hopefully that helped. And I guess on that topic too, which end of the spectrum are you? Because this person asked, how big is your cock?
That's a question that I don't like answering. And normally when people ask me, I say that it's like, I'll say like 3 inches or like 2 inches or something, just like, just to, like some number on that end of the scale. But
totally.
As far as people's guesses, like I'm like a fairly regular attendee at the nude beach here.
Yeah.
And even like sex clubs or like just people, like wherever people see me nude, like the guesses that I tend to get, I feel like most people guess that I'm like 10 inches. Some people have said 9 inches. Some people have said 12 inches.
Yeah. Oh my God, 12 inches? Jesus.
That's kind of, I'll say that the estimate that I get from everybody, it's no smaller than 9 ever, and it's generally caps out at 12.
Cool. So you guys can look for yourself on his Twitter and everything. Where can we find you? Like, plug all the things so people can judge for themselves.
My Twitter handle is Jesse Black XXX, and then my that's like the main platform that I'm on. I also have an Instagram account, but I don't really use it. I'm not that active.
Okay.
And that's just _ Jesse Black.
Cool.
And then from those two, like on Twitter, you'll find like my other links to like to OnlyFans or whatever, which is just onlyfans.com/Jesse Black.
Awesome. Pretty easy to find you, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your time today, Jesse. It was really insightful and super eye-opening. I learned a lot myself. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective on the porn industry and also just your own story and everything. It was so fascinating learning about you.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. It was a pleasure.
Awesome.
You had some good questions.
There was so many great questions. I'll actually have to thank all of my listeners because I feel like this episode was mainly for you guys. I had hardly anything on my end, and it's going to be mainly question driven today, which is not usually how I normally operate things. So thank you, all you listeners, for sending in all those amazingly hard questions for Jesse to answer. So, again, don't forget to rate, and subscribe. It's Strip by Cia on Instagram, Facebook, and my personal Cia Staff. And we'll catch you guys in for another episode next week, next Sunday, same time, same place. And yeah, thanks again, Jesse. I'll try to meet up in Vancouver, okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks again. Bye. You're listening to Stripped by Cia, produced and hosted by Steph Cia, aka Kimchi, music by Ted